Hi guys, in this short video I've put together my favourite tips and tricks in Cubase 10 and Cubase 9 to improve your workflow, and I bet there's some you don't know about. Let's do this. So I'm going to split this video into two, and this first video is going to be tips and tricks within the arrangement window, or otherwise known as the project window. So the first tip is that there is no master channel within the project window, therefore you can't automate the master channel. So let's fix that. Let's open up the mixer, F3, and just click on the edit settings on the stereo out, which is the master bus. Click right, make sure that reveal parameter on right is set. So come to settings. If you're on 9.5, I think there's a cogwheel down here somewhere for the settings. But in Cubase 10, just make sure reveal parameter on right is selected. That is always really useful. I use that all the time, so you can literally just brings up the lane automatically for you, whichever knob you've changed. You haven't got to go searching for the right parameter. So we're just going to press play and just move anything. Make sure you just take right off again. And here we have the stereo out, and we can just put that back to how it was, or we can just delete that point altogether, and there we have it. Stereo out, fully automatable with its own controller lane or automation lane in the project window. So that's tip number one. The next one is going to be open MIDI window in place, or Edit-in-place I think it's called. If you double click your MIDI, then it should open up in the lower zone if that's what you've got selected on your preferences, which is default. Of course you can open up the full window here with this arrow, but there's a third option as well. Just going to turn off that lower zone. So just highlight the track and press Ctrl Shift and I, and the Edit-in-place window pops up. You can also do this via MIDI and Open-in-place editor. And of course, as you can see, the MIDI notes and all the MIDI information is now on the track itself rather than in the lower zone. To make that bigger, just press Z on the track, just to zoom into that track. Now you've still got access to your velocity lanes or any other controller lanes at the bottom. Obviously you can still write notes in, if you want to, or delete them, whatever, extend them. But you're doing it all in the lane itself. Click this blue arrow. You've got some more options up the top, as you might normally find if you've got it in the lower zone. If you want to zoom in vertically, just come over to the piano and make sure you've got a hand and just go left or right. So what are the benefits of opening up on the track as opposed to the lower zone? Because obviously this is a lot smaller. Well, the one that I can immediately see is you can line up the MIDI to your audio. So let's say, for example, let's just make this one bigger as well. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So yeah, so now we can, let's say this audio is over here and it's a live recorded guitar or something like that, and we just want to sync up this MIDI to it. Obviously we can just move the MIDI part and sync that up. Let's just take off snap for a second, press J, let's just get these a little bit off grid. So yeah, I can now clearly see that I can line up that MIDI note with the start of that phrase there. That's easily done. Or of course I can do the same thing. I can line up the audio with the MIDI just to get those lined up, for example. So that's like a really useful function that probably a lot of people don't even know about. And just to take that off again, just Ctrl Shift I again. Okay, so I'm sure you all know about automation and drawing in automation, as we touched upon earlier. But this, when you draw in automation here, you have to listen to what it sounds like. It's all done, basically the volume changes or whatever, all done in the mixer. If you want a visual representation, just literally grab the draw tool. This is for volume, and you can start drawing in volume changes on the actual audio itself, and you can visually see the volume changes on the waveform. Quite useful. So it's just going to quickly undo that and take this one step further. If you do want to draw in your automation on the lane, just press F6 again, and this is a really useful function. In your settings, go to show data on tracks, And now you can see that in the automation lane you've got your audio waveform as well. So it's a lot easier, zoom in, just to maybe create your own, you know, automation ramps that you might want. So another little useful tip there for you, you know, if you don't have that on as standard, then it's going to look like that and you're a little bit sort of guessing with the line above. So it's up to you if you have that on or off. I find it quite useful. And one more useful tip on automation before I go, F6 again, settings, and use version territory. Normally when you automate some volume changes or whatever on automation, it does it for the whole track basically. But if you use version territory, it only does it for the bit that you want it on. For example, like that. But the rest of this track is now automation free, so you can carry on using the faders or whatever in the mixer. Let's just add some more in. So the first part of this loop I won't be able to manually use the fader, but in the second part of the loop I will be able to. So just press number 1 there to go back to the left locator, and I'm going to mess around with the volume. You can see that's the automating there, but now I'm free to move it. In the second half I'm free to move it. If use version territory wasn't on, I wouldn't be able to manually move that fader. So yet another really useful tool that is quite unknown or not very well known. Now if you're editing audio a lot like I do with vocals, whatever, or guitars, then this next feature is going to be useful to you. It's auto fades. And let me just demonstrate that, you know, if you were to cut out this bit, cut out this bit, cut out this bit, and cut out this. Imagine these are all vocal phrases, and obviously you normally want to fade them all in, fade them all out, just so you don't get any clicks and pops. For example, you know, it's going to take you quite a while. You know, some of you may know that you can just press 2 on your range and get your range tool rather, highlight them all and press A for a fade out. But you know, I'm talking about fade ins and fade outs on many different things, and I want it to happen automatically. I don't want to do it manually all the time. So there is an auto fades function which you can get to up here, or you can come up to project and go auto fades, or you can just put it on the track itself and not the whole project if you want to. So right click, auto fades. So let's put it on the whole project. Set your length, auto fade in, auto fade out, and auto crossfades. Obviously you can adjust the length and the shape type, and your crossfades is in a different tab altogether. Click OK, and now every time you make a slice, all of these points, or all of these parts I should say, will have 10 milliseconds of fade in. Now one thing to note, or two things to note: you do not get a visual representation of this, so I had to test this by doing 500 milliseconds to make sure that it was fading in, but it definitely does it. It just doesn't show you as a fade in graphically. That's the first thing to note. The second thing to note is it is a little bit processor intensive. As you play it back, it does it in real time, it processes it in real time. That's probably why you don't get a visual representation at this stage. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Let's just highlight all my tracks and control down to get them a little bit bigger. So for my next example, let's just bring in a loop from the media bay, and we're going to convert this audio into MIDI. Let's just have a listen to it first of all. So let's just say you wanted that in MIDI form, so then you can apply your own instrument to it and change the sound of it completely. Double click. This is for pro users, by the way, because we're going to use Vary Audio. Edit Vary Audio, and now it's converted that audio into MIDI parts. And let's just come to functions and extract MIDI, and you can choose your various settings you want here. Just notes and no pitch bend data is fine for me. Destination, first selected track, or new MIDI track, that's fine. Press OK, close that window, get rid of the lower zone, and now we have the MIDI version of this audio track here. So now I can assign another VST instrument to this MIDI part and get a totally different sound if I want to. Let's go back into this audio part and do something else with it. This time we're going to hit points. And I'm sure you know about hit points. It's detecting various different levels of volume in the audio, and you've got a threshold which you can have more or less points detected. And this time we're going to do create groove. And what's that done? It's created a brand new groove which is now available in your quantize drop down menu. So obviously you've got the normal 1/4, 1/2, 1/8, but here's the one we've just created. So it's a brand new groove you've got available in your quantize menu. So slip editing has been around for years, and I've been using it for years every single day. I find it so handy. Instead of moving the audio part around, or the MIDI part around, you can just move the contents within that. So to demonstrate, just press Control and Alt and then use your left and right mouse, drag left and right, and you can see it slipping. Really useful function for lining up audio, a drum hit or a vocal phrase or whatever. Okay, for my next tip, it involves folders. And let's just say you've got loads and loads of folders open and some are closed. What you can do is just Control and click one of them and they will all close, or Control and click one of them again and they'll all open. So that's really handy. My next tip is the Devide tracklist. So click this button here and you've now got like two separate arrange windows. So you might want to put that stereo out up there, for example, so it's always at the top. This is if you're going to be demonstrated a lot better if you've got a very big arrangement going on with many tracks. Let's just add in a load of tracks just to kind of add the illusion we've got a big folder, a big project going on. So as you can see, the stereo out always remains at the top, even though we're scrolling down in the lower part of the project window. Or you might want to do that with a vocal or drums or whatever. And you can easily just move these back in again if you want to. Just be careful though, if you have got an audio part in the top half and you then close your divide list, you will lose that part. It will just vanish and you'll be going, shit, what the hell's going on here? So make sure you just open it up again, drag it back in first, and then close it down if you've finished with it, that is. So that's a really useful feature for keeping something on the top at all times. So you can line up, say, a guitar or something to the drums if you keep the drums up there all the time. Something like that. My last tip is going to be on the sampler. And you all know that you can drag in audio to the sampler and obviously start messing around with it. But did you know you can actually drag in MIDI as well? And there we have it. It's bounced down the audio. So I dragged the MIDI file into the sampler. It's bounced down the audio, and now I can play this as a normal sample. So obviously you just might want to just move the start time. I can play it at various different pitches, obviously, and of course you've got access to audio warp. If you want to play it at a different pitch but at the same tempo. Etc. So that's a really useful feature, which I'm not sure too many people know about that actually. They knew they could bring in audio but not MIDI as well. So that's it guys. If you found this video useful and you want to see more, then please hit the subscribe button, but don't forget to press the bell as well, because this will tell you when our next video is out. And we have many more useful videos on the way. Please click the thumbs up, that will help us a lot, and please comment below with anything you want to know and any future ideas for tutorials. All the very best guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.